to be explaining how I cook spaghetti squash. So maybe take everything I do right now with a grain of salt because it's gonna look very wrong, but you essentially want to split your spaghetti squash in half and try to make it as even as possible. I'm obviously doing a fantastic job at almost stabbing myself in this situation, so don't be like me. Then I'm going to grab a bowl and start scooping out the seeds and kind of the guts of the spaghetti squash and discard those. You're not going to cook with those in it still. And make sure you take everything out of your oven before setting it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Next up, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil, salt, and I'd put ginger instead of pepper, but it's up to you. And just to give it a little bit of flavor as it cooks, but not too much. Then you're going to want to poke some holes in the back of the squash, so you're going to flip it over. And with a fork, just go through and poke down the back of it, basically. And this is to avoid it from exploding and also to make sure it cooks thoroughly. This next step is optional, but I like to put a couple of tablespoons of water at the base of the pan so that it kind of steams the spaghetti squash as it's cooking. And here you can see what it's looking like so far. Just an FYI, my biggest tip with cooking, if you hate the cleanup, is to just clean up as you go, because then you're not stuck with all these pots and pans and cutting boards right at the very end when you're ready to eat. So my oven is already at about 300 degrees, so I decided to put it in at this point. You can wait until it totally preheats, but I tend to put my food in before it's done preheating anyways. And since I put it in before it finished preheating, I'm going to set my timer for 50 minutes instead of 40 or 45. Once your timer goes off, you can open up your oven, and I just poke the top of it a little bit to see if it's easy to puncture or if it squishes when I poke it with the fork. So this is the fun part. After letting it cool down for a couple of minutes, just so you can hold on to it, you're going to take your fork and very gently start scraping the inside of the squash. If you scrape it too harshly, you're going to end up with spaghetti squash mush. So just make sure you're very gentle with it, and if it's becoming mushy, just let it cool down a little bit, and you should easily get those little spaghetti strands. And there you have it. You have fully cooked, delicious spaghetti squash. After you're done stringing it, you can add any seasoning you want to it. I just salt and pepper it, and as you can see, I put some leftover roast pork at the top. And there are plenty of recipes online for dishes that include spaghetti squash, which I will actually leave some down below.